Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. Today, I am super excited to have Joanna Shakti with me. Welcome, Joanna.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. So, you are the founder of Ecstatic Intimacy, and you are known as the Soul Love Mentor. Tell us a little bit about what a Soul Love Mentor is and does, please.
Absolutely. Soul love, that love that is beyond romantic love, but completely inclusive of romantic love. It is the love that lights us up as individual men and women, that then is that magnetic force that draws us together. And it is also the love that unites us with everything and all that we are, and talk about a power that becomes available when we really recognize the force of love that each man, in this case, but each man and each woman brings into the world, and to step into that and fully embody it changes the world. And I'm about the ripple effect. So I work with men and women, singles and couples, to create profoundly deep connections and lives through living who we are most powerfully as the individuals that we are.
All right, that's a beautiful summation. I'm buying what you're selling.
Thank you.
So let's unpack that a little bit. Let's just say I'm a normal guy, and we can use me as an example. I'm married 1 year now. I'm in a good relationship. What can I do to get this soul explosion of love that may be a blind spot for me, that I think, oh, we're doing good?
The interesting part is there's some common threads to that, and yet how it expresses itself is unique to each individual. And so, if I were to say the number one thing, because it's like, we can ask this generic question of, what do I do to make a relationship better? Or how do I get a better date? Doesn't matter if we're talking singles or partnered. And that answer, particularly for men, is about claiming your flippin' truth. And it's about being who you are on the fullest extent. And what I'd say is sad in our world is, and this has been happening for decades, but it's been really intense in the last year, last 6 months, is the judgment toward men. And where men have on some level felt like they had to pull back, or they had to hide what might be some of their masculine desire, their masculine truth, their masculine purpose, what they're committed to. Some men have done it because, well, I want to make women happy. So if they want to take the lead, great, I'll let them take the lead. But then sometimes the women are pissed off because they don't really want to have to take the lead.
Right.
And so I'll say this journey is twofold. And it's first and foremost, be the man that you are, and we can talk about what that is. But I see way too many men hold back their power, their truth, their desire, their hunger, trying to be the nice guy, trying to be the good guy, trying to do it the right way. So that's first and foremost, like, live on that edge, live into who you really are. And then secondarily, particularly for heterosexual men, is learn something about these creatures called women, and stop thinking they operate like you do, and stop expecting them to operate like you do.
Where's the instruction manual?
Well, I'm working on that. Yeah.
So I think, I can identify with a couple of things that you said. I think the first is, a few years ago when I was dating, I think for me, understanding that I was attracting the level I was on and the vibration I was on. So before I had done some work with coaches and mentors, I was in a place where I was being sneaky and I wasn't being totally honest. And, it was a surprise to me that I was attracting some of that as well. And it was a good lesson to learn that once I learned how to tell the truth that opened up some doors for me, as it were.
Yeah, there's an old saying that says the truth will set you free. And men want to be trusted. My experience is men want to be trusted. They want to be trusted by other men. They want to be trusted by women. Men want women that really enjoy their pleasure in the bedroom. And men want to be respected as well as trusted. And all of that comes back to, how are you showing up? And whether or not you actually, when it really gets deep down, do you really respect you?
Right.
Do you really trust you? And that's what has a woman be able to surrender, to be able to, well, there's a lot of different words I could use there, depending on which aspect of relationship we want to talk about. But, you know, surrendering to her pleasure in the bedroom, saying yes to the second date, really following that masculine guidance, if you will. And it's not to say that she can't guide or lead, but it's this dynamic between the two of, what energy do we want to hold?
Right.
And not do we want to hold, I should say it more specifically, what energy is authentically our own. And a lot of women are in denial of their femininity, and a lot of men are in denial of their masculinity.
All right. I want to come back to that feminine and masculine, but circling back to what you were saying before, I think if I can expound on that, the women are often, you know, great BS detectors. And so if a guy's GPS is external, kind of based on society or parental programming, that external GPS rings as inauthentic and not something that they want to follow, because they know that may create discord later. But if the guy has that authentic GPS inside, they probably feel more comfortable taking that lead, as it were.
Totally. And it's not, you know, it's not even necessarily later down the road. It's like in the moment, and she may not be able to put words to, you know what, I'm just not relaxed. Like, how relaxed a woman is in her body, yes, has a lot to do with her own programming, but then it has an incredible amount to do with how is he showing up? And what is she willing to offer based on the presence that he's holding? So her BS detector, her, you know, we could talk about a man who's in his presence and his heart, like he's in his power and his openness. Like, she doesn't want, women don't, you know, it's the joke of why women want the bad guy or the bad boy. And, you know, because there's an assertiveness, there's a presence around that. But she doesn't ever want to marry him.
Right.
She doesn't ever really want to spend significant time in her life overall with him. But there's something attractive about it. But what she really wants is that man who owns who he is and can open his heart without selling himself out. So
let's talk what that looks like a little bit brass tacks when someone comes in. How do you break that down? Because it sounds pretty abstract, right? So when you're talking about, okay, let's fix this issue, what are the steps involved?
Yeah. So first and foremost, and I know this is going to sound abstract again, but it's got to be, the first piece is what I call ecstatic authenticity. And it's finding out what the truth is about my needs, my wants, desires, my turn-ons, my turn-offs, what my end goal is in relating. Because it's that, you know, if we just go back to, you know, I'm looking for my life partner, or am I looking to get laid?
Right.
And owning that. And so the very first thing I'm going to start having a man do is evaluate his own truth. And where is he living in alignment with that truth? And where is he living out of alignment with that truth? simple 4 questions around masculine, feminine, because this is a place that I'll start. Like, a lot of men get confused about what does it mean to be masculine? And how do I show that and still respect a woman?
Right.
And not get, accused of doing something that I didn't even think I did.
Okay. What are the questions?
So the first question, and I'll say these questions get to be answered as if it was your ideal situation and you can't get rejected and you can't get hurt. She's going to be thrilled with how things turn out. So it's the ideal situation. First one, do you prefer a woman, or I'm sorry, I'll ask it in a generic way. As a man, do you prefer a partner who is physically larger than you, physically smaller than you, or the same size?
Smaller.
And you smaller. Okay, great. So we'll have you answer the questions, and then I'm going to just invite the listeners to answer them for yourselves, and then we'll talk about what they mean. So for you, smaller. Okay, great. Second one is, do you, again, with your ideal lover, physically, are you stronger, i.e. you can pick up and move your partner across the bed? Or is your partner stronger, they pick you up and move you across the bed?
I want to be the mover.
You want to be the mover. Good. Okay. Then the third question is, in a dating situation, would you prefer to be the one asked out, picked up, and taken to dinner? Or would you prefer to do the asking out, the picking up, and the taking to dinner?
See, that's interesting, because I don't think I've really been posed with the second scenario, and I feel like I'm programmed for the first. But it would be nice if I didn't have to worry about all that stuff.
Okay. So this is great. This is great. And it would be nice if you didn't have to worry about it. So let's go the opposite extreme just to get curious with it.
Right.
If she was always asking you out, picking you up, and taking you to dinner, would it turn you on or turn you off sexually?
I don't know. That seems so foreign.
So,
I mean, it's hard for me to wrap my head around, but I guess, yeah, I don't know. I guess I have to think about that more.
Okay, great. Let's see if there's another way to open that question up for you. It would be nice, say more about, it would be nice if you didn't have to think about it.
Like if I didn't have to make the effort, right? Because the other person's making the effort. They have to think about where to go and make the plans. And I could just say, I guess I would have to accept, right? In the corollary.
Yes. So you then are stepping into that, I'm going to enjoy whatever somebody else creates for me.
So yeah, I mean, I guess I'd like that every once in a while, but I don't think I'd want that to be that way all the time.
That's typically the key. Most masculine men, and we'll talk about what the answers mean, but most masculine men would be like, yeah, once in a while, would I like her to take, plan something and take me out? That would be great. But if she did that all the time and she was pursuing me all the time, yeah, eventually I'd go, that's not so interesting. That's what a lot will say. And so it's more often than not, no, I'm wanting to create this situation. I'm wanting to set it up and then have her melt into it, to use a phrase.
Right. Okay.
So that's what would be the most common masculine answer is, yeah, once in a while, that would be great, but I don't want that all the time. Okay. Last question. Hot, steamy kiss up against a wall. More often, we can always switch spots again, but more often than not, would you be the one facing the wall giving the kiss or the one against the wall being kissed?
Facing the wall.
Okay. So your answers were all in the masculine direction.
Right.
So masculine's going to prefer to be the physically larger partner. The masculine is going to be the one to move her across the bed in a heterosexual relationship. The masculine is going to be facing the wall, that assertive energy. The masculine is going to be the one to pursue in that courting situation, knowing that, you know, in that dance, it's always fun to play around with the energy. But it's for masculine men, if they were always the one thrown out on the bed, or even 50% of the time, it would tend to be a turnoff.
Right.
So this is the dynamic. So what I end up working with a lot of men who are living inconsistently with their masculine energy.
Okay.
And so now we've got to unravel, okay, you're masculine at your essence, but you're wanting women to ask you out. You feel safer because you know you're not going to get rejected if she comes to you first.
Right.
Oh, if she initiates the first kiss, I know I'm not going to screw it up. Oh, if she starts sex, I'm not going to get accused of being that assertive asshole.
Right.
So there's all this avoidance that has a man sell out his masculinity.
I have to say that the one exception might be, I remember from my online dating days, you're much more likely to actually have a date if the woman reached out first, just because of the signal to noise ratio between men and women on those platforms.
And on an online dating place, I can see that. And I will tell you that all of the women that I work with, I tell them not to initiate.
Okay.
And so those are the conscious women that are in their femininity. They at most might wink at somebody.
Okay.
But if he doesn't have the mojo to pursue her and she wants to be pursued, and granted, I can see your point in online dating, but I can tell you that there's a lot of women who are stepping into and claiming their femininity that would not put themselves in that situation.
Okay. So reiterating what you were saying, a common discord is men fearing rejection, so they stay away from their masculine energy. Let's talk a little bit about people that are in relationships that kind of hit grooves, right? How do you work on the ecstatic soul connection in those scenarios?
Yeah, well, and one of my favorite ones in that relationship space is the whole roommate friend zone. Yeah, we're better friends than we are lovers today. You know, how often I hear that. And it's because we neutralize the spark. Well, there's a couple of different reasons, but one of them is neutralizing the spark. And in a lot of relationships, I'll see, especially in professional worlds today, she's got this go-getter job, so she comes home and she's still in that driving, pursuing, making shit happen mode.
Right.
And so he's like, okay, go for it. You want to make the plans for the weekend? You want to do this? You want to drive this? Okay, great. I'll let you. She's overwhelmed. She's tired. It's not really her sexual energy. She's not so interested in sex because she's getting burned out on all the driving that she's doing in the corporate world and in her own life. Right. Or in her own business if she's an entrepreneur. And that's not to take all of the focus off of her. She's got to learn how to bring her feminine energy in. But the more he shows up in that masculine energy, the more that automatically she's going to polarize into her feminine. So it is always keeping an eye on, is there a polarized sexual dynamic in this relationship, or have we gone neutral? There's an article from the New York Times a few years ago that was entitled something like, do equal marriages have less sex? And the answer was yes, because it is the difference. We get caught up in this idea of equal means the same.
Right.
Not in a heterosexual masculine feminine relationship. When we go into sameness, we cut off our sexual energy. So define, I guess, equality in that way, because it's a pretty vague term. Which is a vague term?
So when we're talking about equality in a relationship,
the equal is a vague term?
Yep.
Okay. Excuse me. Before I sneeze. I was like, so equal is one of those things where yes, can both of us change diapers? Can both of us mow the lawn? Can both of us get the car fixed? Can both of us do all of those things? Yes. We can pretty much do almost anything that either one of us can, that either gender can do just about anything in the world. The question is, does it make us happy?
Right.
The question, does it empower us? The question is, does it turn us on? And so it might be, one of the questions that comes up often in a masculine feminine relationship, if she happens to make more money,
right,
what does that happen? What does that do energetically to the relationship? Well, it depends on how both people are holding the energy.
Right.
If he's still bringing the masculine assertiveness, directness, decisiveness, masculine energy has a focus to it. If he's still bringing all those qualities, and in the relationship, if she's feminine and he's masculine, we're talking, she holds that receptive, vulnerable, creative, expressive, surrendered energy, then it's still going to work fine. But if the dance of, oh, now she's provider and protector,
right,
she's the decision maker on everything predominantly, that's going to effectively emasculate a man who's truly masculine at his core. And in that emasculation, he's going to give up. Like, I'm not so interested. Or if another way that will show up is she never seems to be happy with anything that he does.
Right.
So this is another indicator of the whole masculine feminine dynamic being out of sync.
Yeah, I dated a woman from Australia who was absolutely amazing. She was an ER doctor, and if we were to continue, I would have had to move to Australia, and her career would have taken the reins, and that didn't sit well with me. So that was one of the reasons why we cut it off.
Yeah. And is it possible for some men that would totally work? But it's recognizing the dynamic between your two energies. And is this going to be aligned to have us keep the spark alive?
Right.
The other one that I want to bring in relationship, and this is true dating or long-term relationship, is a man making peace with a woman's emotions, which a lot of men can get really intimidated by a woman's emotions, want to check out, want to shut down. And I had a prospective client call me at one point, and he was describing the woman in the relationship he wanted. And he said, I really want a sexually uninhibited woman. I want her to be fully expressed and fully alive. And I was like, great. And so I'm listening. Are you a man that's going to show up, that's going to invite that kind of woman into your life? Because that's the important factor in there. And then he continued talking for a little bit more, and he said, but I don't want a woman that's emotional. And I went, ding. Now we know we're part of the challenges, because part of what is a woman's sexuality and her expressiveness and that fullness that turns so many men on, the root of that is her emotions. And so if you shut her emotions down, you want to check out, she's going to stop trusting you.
Right.
And her sexual turn on is going to keep dwindling.
All right. So
really important, or really unavoidable, key, and truly important part of a long-term relationship.
Yes, I've got a very pregnant wife right now, so I'm understanding some of the emotional extremes that hormones can help out with.
Yes, they certainly help out, but even without pregnancy.
Yes, no, I understand. So for me, one of the important things that I learned was not to try and fix everything, and try and listen, and just be there as much as possible. What else can guys do when that emotional tsunami seems to come at them sometimes?
Yeah, well, it depends on what it's about. And so let me see, I'm going to give you 2 or 3 things. One is presence.
Right.
Like, I'm here. Like, I'm with you. And she can tell. It's one of those things where your body's there, but she can tell your energy is gone.
Right.
Doesn't matter if your physical body is here. It's your energetic presence that she feels and she can open into.
And pro tip, put your phone down.
Yes. Put your phone down. Like, that is not presence. Like, it's all, so masculine energy is very focused and it's very directed. So all of that energy is on her. So that's first. Give her some space to just empty it out. There may or may not be something that needs fixing. Now, I love, like, men have learned that don't fix it. But sometimes she actually wants you to be her hero.
Okay.
But how do you figure out when?
Good question.
And that is where, one, you start listening to each other. Two, you ask the question, would you like my help with this? Or would you just like me to listen?
Seems way too direct.
She will answer it, though. She will tell you, no, I just want you to listen.
Okay.
Oh, well, no, I actually would like your advice. And then you can approach that situation. If all she wants to do is listen, you don't have to track all the details. Presence, right there. The other part is, if she's upset, particularly with you, but truly any upset,
right,
what she's looking for is to be heard. And what the mistake that a lot of men make is that being heard is that you hear the words that she's saying. And you get that she's mad at her boss, or you get that she's mad at you because you didn't take out the trash.
Right.
Whatever the example is. That's not actually what she wants you to hear. What she wants you to hear is that with her boss, she feels unimportant. And he's not giving her credit for her capabilities, and that makes her feel somehow less than.
Right.
That's the emotional experience that she's having with the boss. The trash, it could be that she feels like you don't respect her, or she doesn't feel safe because she can't trust your word. And it's that when she feels heard for what she feels,
right,
her emotions, then she gets to the bottom of the upset.
Right.
So when guys say, God, she keeps talking about this old thing, I'm like, oh, it's because it's not done. She hasn't felt heard. Well, I've listened over and over and over again, but not to the right thing.
Right.
It's all about her emotions.
It's like, but did you hear?
Did you hear how she felt?
Okay.
That's the bottom line. It's literally not like you could take the trash out and not get that she felt like you didn't care.
Right.
And she's still going to be pissed.
All right. So, I can identify with that. I've got OCD when it comes to organizing the dishwasher. So sometimes when she throws it in haphazardly, I'm like, why are you disrespecting me? When in fact, she's just, in a hurry and whatever. We've worked through it. It's cool.
Yeah.
But I identified with that. So B, let's say I have heard her emotionally, and we're jiving with the communication. And then we move into the bedroom. We've got good communication. What's this Tantra stuff all about?
Awesome. Tantra is, in its ancient forms, Tantra the meaning is a weaving or a union.
Okay.
And so in its origins, it was a pathway to the divine. And that's that's the Eastern traditions of its origins. When it was brought westward, although sexuality is one of the pathways to connect with the divine, there were 108 original tantras. So
okay.
The truth is about 10 of those related to sexuality. But is it beautiful that when it came westward, that it allowed our puritanical society that has had in so many ways such shutdown and shame around sexuality? Is there a huge benefit to the fact that a lot of the focus went onto that? There is, because it's about coming back into an authentic relationship with our sexuality. And can that mean bigger, better, longer, more frequent orgasms, multiple orgasms for men? Yeah, it can. But it's not about that. That's the side effect. The actual experience of, and I'll call it sacred sexuality, is bringing where I might say the heart and the sex unite and the spirit leads.
Okay.
And what will often happen is he's trying to be too nice and he's too in his heart and he's not getting all of the energetic, let alone physical erection of his potency and his power to really turn her on when he gets too in his heart. And if there's shame or shutdown or judgment of his own sexual desires, that's one of the reasons a man will stay up too much in his heart.
Okay.
But then that another man, or on a different day, it's all about the cock. It's all about the sexuality and getting laid, and there's no heart connection, and she can feel that, especially in a long-term relationship. It's the real journey is to bring the power of those two together. Right. And oh, by the way, this is how in sacred sexuality, we start to merge energy and breath and circulate that energy from him into her, through her back to him, and it starts to amplify the sexual energy through this conscious union. And so it's heart and sex united to create a spiritual experience, which between two bodies can mean, where do I begin and you end? It can mean, I like to joke, there's a reason we say, oh God, in an orgasm, because there is a connection to this higher power, and then that infuses each individual and the relationship.
All right, sign me up. How do I do it?
I love taking men and women, singles and couples, and I'll say to the single men, a lot, I hear this way too often, is like, oh, I'll start to look at sacred sexuality when I have a partner. And that's definitely beyond the ideal time to be looking at it. Like, come into a relationship with your consciousness around sexuality before you meet her, and bring it to the first encounter. Now, if you're already with your woman, great. Bring it in anytime, start. Anytime is the time to start. Now is the time to start.
You're saying it's never too early.
It's never too early. And I always want to say to the singles, like, now is the time, and bring that consciousness, invite her into an entirely different sexual experience with you, because you've stepped into being that man that you are, opened your heart, and met her on an entirely different sexuality level.
How does one get started down the path?
It really is, when I work with someone,
right,
I take them down the path of soul love.
Okay.
And if I were to describe the path of soul love in a nutshell, the first phase is what I call the ecstatic authenticity phase, where you come into such deep relationship with you that you love who you are. And I say, self-love is that woo-woo term on some level, but it's about self-respect. It's about self-knowledge. It's about self-honor and self-acknowledgement. And then the love that's just inherently part of it. But right. It's, you don't ever sell yourself out, settle, or twist yourself into a pretzel for anybody or anything. And that's when you become totally trustworthy. Confidence is a byproduct, not something you go find. And you're totally available to love and be loved. So first and foremost, you be you. Activate the soul love in you. Phase 2, ecstatic intimacy by loving soul to soul. by uniting heart to heart, by uniting being to being, and having a relationship where the intimacy takes you deeper and deeper and deeper into that connection. And it's only when you take those two, the reason we do the authenticity phase and the intimacy phase is because when you put those two together, you get the ecstasy phase. That's the ecstatic ecstasy, or living and loving in ecstatic union, where life and love in bed and out becomes hot and juicy because of the depth that you're taking it to. So how do you get started? First, it's you. Then connect on an intimate level, and then ecstasy. Oh yeah, we can have that.
Sounds like harder work than I originally wanted, but I get it.
Well, but see, that's the problem. That's the problem, Ben. Everybody wants the ecstasy. Yeah. And then we're disappointed because we're not getting it.
Right.
But we're not willing to meet the edges of showing up powerfully, authentically. Go back to the idea that the truth will set you free. We're in the habit of hiding.
Right.
We're in the habit of playing small. And that's not going to get you ecstasy. And it's also not going to get you that heartfelt connection. Because you take the heart out of loving, if you really are talking about a long-term relationship.
Right.
And it's so easy when we get hurt to wall off that heart. Let's just go fuck, which is great. Let's have a great fuck. But at the same time, if it becomes all about that, it will never be satisfying to either one, and it will never last, actually. So it's a calling to choose ecstasy. But if you want to live a life that is ecstatic, you got to show up and be you.
All right. That makes sense. I wish it was easier, but I'm sure
it's not that hard.
It's true. It's true. I know we're running a little short on time. Is there anything that we haven't covered today that you think is important for the audience to know before we wrap up?
The biggest thing is truly, and I've been saying this all along, is there's been so much conditioning in men to shut down who they are, to not claim their sexual desire, to not claim their mission in the world, to somehow pull back, trying to make it okay for women. And thank you. And please show up. I get that desire. I get that desire to be a great man, to not be an asshole, to be respectful. And we're hungry. The feminine conscious women are so hungry for your conscious presence as masculine men in this case.
All right. I think that's a good place to wrap it up. I know you might have an offer, and where can people find you if they're looking for more information?
Ecstaticintimacy.com is my website, and the gift that I have is the Ecstatic Intimacy Jumpstart Kit, which is going to give you insights deeper into this whole masculine feminine dynamic and ask you a whole bunch of questions about what does it mean to be in that conscious masculine. It's going to tell you about what you do or might not want to do in the bedroom. It's going to tell you about the secrets to dating or relating, because there's a couples version or a singles version. So choose the one that is best for you. But it's going to look at everything that we just talked about, from being that conscious masculine man to creating the ecstasy in the bedroom. All right. Well, I think it's good work to do. And at the end of the day, everybody benefits from it. So I appreciate your time, your wisdom, and hope people take action on what you've put forth. Thank you. Thank you for doing this and putting it together.